all for tuning in. This is Iman and
Selena.
together we make you plus happy. Each week we bring you someone who challenges us to define success and happiness on our own terms with a dose of laughter.
Remember to like and subscribe to the You Plus Happy podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at You Plus Happy.
Hey, Selena.
Hi.
Oh, that was a very sensual hi.
Oh, was it? My bad. I'm
A little
just
bit.
sleepy. I'm just sleepy.
A little bit. A little uncomfortable over here, but it's okay.
Oh, sorry.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. A little tired because the birds have been waking me up every morning.
Oh.
But yeah, I ordered a earmuffs, like noise canceling earmuffs. So can't wait for them to get here. How are you?
I'm good. So we have our time change. So it's an hour earlier. So I'm a little bit tired too, but I have my coffee as always. So I'll be good.
Yeah. Anything fun this weekend? I mean, this week?
So I had a very busy / stressful week, but I was like, I'm going to take some time out for me. So yesterday I had a pamper day. So, well, the night before the pamper day, I went out dancing, which always makes me happy. So that was fun. And then the next day I had a pamper day. So I went and got my nails done. I got a massage, which I really, really needed, got a pedicure, and just relaxed, read a book. So I was like, I feel a lot better now. I'm going to try to do this at least once a month for myself, just going and getting a massage and having a pamper day. So
let me see your nails.
It's a funny story. So I'm a bit of a nail snob, and I realized that my nails were getting really thin because I was like getting them off and then getting them right back. So I actually am doing a break from like the gels and acrylics because I was doing both. So they're actually not colored, but I still got a manicure and like the whole like
What is the color? Your nails are not, is that? Oh, the camera, like the way the light's reflecting, it looks like they're painted white.
No, and they cut them because they were so thin. And I was like, I'm just gonna try and grow some healthy, strong nails.
It's hard. I tried that. I was getting acrylics for like a year. I got addicted. I did it on a self-care day. I was like, oh, I'll get some acrylics, spice it up. 1 year later, I'm still addicted. But then when the pandemic, when that hit, I took them off obviously, but they were so weak.
Yeah. I went in there thinking I was gonna get gels, but I was like, no, Iman, just let them grow back healthy. And I was so tempted because there were two people next to me and they're so good. And I was like, oh, no.
I'm on the fence right now. Like I took my gel off last night and my nails are busted, of course. One already broke today, but I'm like, I don't know. Is it worth it to have healthy nails? Because they're not gonna stay like that, they're gonna break. And then you gotta paint them all the time. I'm a nail snob too, you know.
Yeah, that's both of our weakness. But I'm doing like they gave me like a strengthening thing. So I'm gonna do it. I said I'm gonna do it for a month and see if I notice a difference. So we'll see. I'm on a healthy nail journey.
If you do, good luck. Because I was painting my nails. I followed the instructions for a nail strengthening thing. I was taking vitamins, and mine after 3 months, they still were kind of weak.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So good luck.
We'll what about you? Was that what you were gonna share?
No.
we got a little sidetracked with coffee and nails. Let's bring it back.
What kind of show? No, y'all. So I had a lot of things that happened this week that were really great, and I wanted to share all of them, but I couldn't. So I'm gonna share the ridiculous thing. Okay. If you listen to our show regularly, you know I did this before. I worked out in dress socks again, and I'm.
This is about learning from our mistakes, growth.
Honestly, like, who let me be an adult? I don't qualify. I don't have the qualifications, like, at all. I can't. The socks look like ankle socks. Again, I got out there jogging, slippity slip, blister over big toe. I need help. I keep telling everybody I need to get fired from this adulting job. Nobody will help me. What do I do? I don't know how to choose the right socks for the right occasion.
Wait, so are the dress socks just because the regular socks aren't available at the time? Or is this like a conscious, like, oh, I have two options, I'm going to choose this?
No, it's not conscious. Most things I do aren't. But this is like, they look like ankle socks.
They're not.
They weren't. When I put them on, I was like, oh, this is an ankle sock. What dress sock is an ankle sock? That don't even make sense. It's just really like, I was like, shit, I did it again. I've expressed myself plenty of times that I need help. No one's listening to me.
So any of our listeners, if you have advice for Selena, please leave some comments.
I have to go to like a sock consultant.
So done. So moving on, who do we have on the show? On the show this week, Selena?
So this week, I'm really excited about our guests. We had a really good conversation, and Iman and I learned so much. This week, we talked to married couple Maiki and Travis, who are entrepreneurs and real estate professionals building generational wealth and teaching others how they do too. They found that real estate could meet their desire to build better communities while living an abundant life according to their own values. They want to share what they are continually learning and save others from the mistakes they made while maximizing lifestyle design for themselves, community, and their families. The conventional rules don't always work. So for more, you can visit them at their website. It's going to be in the show notes, but it's liveaxios.com. And you can follow them on Instagram at Coupled Investments. And we are honored to have them on the show. Oh, hi, how are you?
Hi, it's Maiki.
Hi, Maiki. I'm Selena. This is my co-host and friend, Iman.
Awesome. Nice to meet you guys.
Is it okay if we hop in now?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you just give us like just a brief overview of what you do and like how you got started.
You want to just okay. So basically we're both working professionals, right? But we had a desire to build wealth over time in a way that would make it more resilient make us more resilient on a personal level, but also feed back into our families. And we were trying to figure out like how to do that. I mean, America's system, it's kind of like a gotcha game, right? Like there's all these things you can take advantage of, but you have to know about them first. And then, you got to kind of get yourself outside of the rat race to even take advantage of them. So, we had this like shared desire to build wealth. And it was so strong amongst both of us that we just were like, okay, how are we going to do this together? So one element of the storyline is like we actually bought a house together before we got married. And it wasn't even in the plan to get married exactly, because we were just like very open-minded and weren't really okay with sort of the traditional patriarchal structure that is around marriage in general. But we decided like, okay, we're going to redesign marriage for ourselves. We're going to redesign sort of our relationship and make it custom to ourselves. We're not going to like listen to everybody who has input. We're going to just figure it out amongst each other. And that was kind of like the bedrock of like how we decided like what we wanted to do. So we had that shared understanding that we wanted to build wealth, and we were like, well, what are the typical pathways to do it? You can try to create a high income at a job or whatever, or you could try to become an entrepreneur and get equity in either some assets or a company. And so, we played with different things of what it could be, but we ended up finding real estate. I personally was already working in real estate, but to some extent, I had a general plan that I wanted to invest, but I didn't know to which degree that I wanted to. And it wasn't until that I met my rib cage here, that I was able to start having a little bit more confidence about how we would go about it. Because she's like 100% like pioneer, like she has a vision, she's trying to make it come to fruition. And even when it came to our first property and our first investment, I didn't really see the big picture, and she did. And she kind of had to walk me through the whole thing in order for me to like emotionally open up to the idea. Because again, I've been working in real estate, so to some extent, I already knew how it worked, but I wasn't actively looking at opportunities. And it kind of took off from there. Like it was like ad hoc at first, and we were just with our general desire to go in this direction. But over time, we were like, well, we got some real skills to do this. So like, let's just formalize it over time.
Yeah.
And start trying to build a portfolio that would match our goals.
And to add to a couple elements to that, like one of the big things, like going into a relationship and buying a house together before you get married, that was like a pretty kind of different choice amongst like our peers too. And I think about the themes of your show, and determining your own path can be really hard, and going against the grain and doing things really differently can be really hard. But I personally always had an issue with the structure of marriage, the construct of marriage, especially as it's portrayed and really promoted in the US. And I was not interested in the least. And it was really interesting, the different, the difference in my relationship with Travis was like, I felt like we didn't need marriage at all to be together and to be in a partnership and to do, like kind of drive at our goals together. It was just like, it was something that, provided us the access, and allowed us to navigate this current, like this cultural setting better. But it was like an added bonus, and it's been great. But I feel like that the bedrock of our foundation was already there, like that partnership and commitment was already there. As opposed to how it's typically kind of done, like people see marriage as the thing that you're really committing to, like that's the thing. Once you're in marriage, that's what's holding you together, and it's just not like that. Look at divorce rates. So that was a great experience, like starting off this like venture into real estate and getting our first property and going through that together, like building our partnership. And that was really showed me a lot about how we can work and solve problems together. And then it was just like we were committed to each other, our goals, and we could definitely see the relationship, the business, and everything coming together from there. And true to kind of how we got started, like I feel like those early moments when we were kind of creating this dream and refining it really highlighted the core things about us to each other, like how we like to work together, how we like to solve problems together, that have been, that have kept us going. So yeah, I think that like it was for me also, like I didn't have a background in real estate. I was, in consulting at the time, nonprofit consulting at the time we got started. But I had a real desire to kind of do things. I'm very entrepreneurial. I like to run my own things. I like to, execute my vision. I even do it at work. My 9-to-5 job, I figured out a way to bring my entrepreneurial spirit and like run my own show there as well. And like, that was really important to me. And real estate was just like a very interesting space that brings together a lot of different things that are important to us: community, building wealth, space making. And it's been like something that's can, keep your interest for a long time too. Like there are things that can get old or whatever, but real estate as an entrepreneurial endeavor was like, had all of the right elements, and we could see ourselves continuing to be engaged in it for a long time and working on it at our own pace too. So yeah.
I have so many follow-up questions. I was typing like some of my questions because I was like, I need to remember these because there's so many important things I think you all just said. But I'm trying to see like what's the most important question I have because I don't want to ask you too many. But how did you bring your because a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs these days, right? I feel like it's almost a trend, right? Mm-hmm. Like work for yourself. And a lot of people may not do it or may not understand all the things that go into it. But when you say you merge those worlds of bringing your entrepreneurship spirit to your 9 to 5, how'd you do that?
Yeah, so how I did that, I basically, you have to push yourself. I think one of the big...
I'm just laughing because there's a lot of hours around here spent working, both of us. Like,
yeah.
And I would still say that we are generally happy people, but we spend like, last Saturday, I was like up till 1 doing like journal entries in our accounting system. But I didn't mean to cut you, that's why I laughed.
Yeah, no, I figured.
Does it feel different when you're doing it for yourself though?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. But, again, it's like, it was really important to me to kind of own my own time, even in my 9 to 5. So basically, I'm a very curious person. I've always that's how I see myself, and I'm a constant learner. So for me, I just identified like a gap in my job. Like there was, this opportunity to I was interested in data analytics. Didn't have any. Well, not any. I did some in grad school, and it was intentional because I wanted to move more into that space. But I wasn't doing that at my current job. I was doing more kind of rote day-to-day things. And I was like, I want to do something else. And I kind of I can envision this work going differently. And so, I had the, kind of foresight to pick a team that really supported me and I chose to work with individuals who understood that, I don't like to be micromanaged. I like to have independence in my work. I was like pretty clear in trying to find my space in my job where I could be that way, because like, that's who I am. That's what I need. And I found these folks. And so when I came to them and I was like, look, I want to do this thing. I don't have all the skill sets yet, but, give me this training. I'm going to do this training and I will get this thing rolling. And they were like, yeah, you want to do this and, increase this work, which is it was analytics work, bringing analytics capacity to human capital work. And my team didn't have that yet. So they were really excited about it. We're really supportive. 2 great women that I just have so much respect for. And they were, very supportive in me doing this. And I just leaned into it, and I said it takes time and hours because I had to train myself. I had to take trainings, to improve my data analytics and data visualization skills. I had to really struggle to understand unfamiliar information. And I also had to be really, I had to engage with people who knew more than I did, but I still had to, wield influence and authority without having influence and authority. So I feel like those are all the things you do as an entrepreneur. You wear a million different hats. Mm-hmm. You have to figure things out on the fly. You're always learning. You have to be curious. You have to be able to be comfortable not knowing shit. Like you just have to be comfortable not knowing stuff, but still being able to push through.
Making critical decisions with limited amount of information.
Yes, I'm a strong believer in I think that's how we're able to iterate very quickly too. Like we can do the research, learn, figure it out, understand the next steps in a short amount of time. And it's more important for me and, and Travis, I would say too, like to get to the point of implementing, trying it. So it's the same with my day-to-day job, my 9 to 5 job. It was more important for me to just jump in and learn while doing and kind of show that I was capable of doing it than to kind of wait on the sidelines and kind of worry about it, overanalyze it, try to make sure that everything was perfect. It wasn't perfect, but I grew my team, and now I have a team of like 4 people that I manage, and it's a new body of work, and I get to like basically I get to work on what I want to work on. I have been working what I want to work on, and it makes my day to day so much more enjoyable. I love my team, I love my work, and I'm motivated to do it. In addition, to the entrepreneurial wealth building work that Travis and I do together. So
can I add one thing, just watching you work too? And I think we both have to do it. It's also constant negotiations, little, small, whatever size that they come in, because you had to turn back to your organization and explain to them the value you really could bring. And then you also had to have a case study and prove that first before they allowed you to do something that had to do with like business development and to throw resources behind it. And after you did prove that, now they just keep giving you more resources. So that's kind of, I added an addendum to how she described merging her entrepreneurial endeavors in her day job, because we both are constantly doing the same thing. We counsel each other on doing that. And so, if I could take a stab at the same question, even though it wasn't quite posed to me, I would say that, I came at it from the general perspective where it's like, I am trying my damnedest to create economic stability for my family, right? I'm coming from a household where my mom made less than, she's a single parent, and made less than $13,000 a year to take care of 2 kids. And she worked crazy hours and only was able to get $13,000 a year. And so, it was just like this equation. Whatever we're doing is not working. It hasn't worked for generations in this society. And quite honestly, there's this idea of a meritocracy that's being sort of projected in the background that, if you're in this sort of circumstance, well, you deserve it. I never agreed with it, because I saw how hard my mom worked, and I never saw her really truly benefit from the skills that she brought to all the organizations that she worked with. She was constantly demerited, constantly berated, even though she was one of the best people that ever worked in any of those organizations. And it was because she didn't have the veneer to say that she's well educated or whatever. So for me, when I entered the workforce, I always had this plan to sort of like level up beyond I won't even call it a plan. It was a general idea that I would level up beyond sort of the rat race, so to speak, because I have to figure out a way to make myself whole, and then the generations that are coming up behind me. So when it came to choosing a job, I just did research. I was like, what's the most entrepreneurial field I can get into so I can use whatever I learned and turn it into entrepreneurship? I may have not had the foresight that I had learned enough that it was time to turn into a trigger. She was the one who brought that to me, that I had learned enough that I could start using it already. And that I need to turn my knowledge into actual outcomes more immediately. But I came at it from this standpoint where it's like, if it doesn't help me become an entrepreneur, I'm not doing it. So I came at it from the jump street like that. Fast forward 7, 8 years into my career now. Well, actually 6. I always do that, age myself too much. 6 years in my career now, I'm actually in a month gonna be full-time entrepreneur. And it did have to do with a lot of reskilling, as Maiki had said, because my traditional training in college was as an anthropologist, and that was a heavy part of it. But it was also knowing when to ask and when to push the envelope. I think sometimes when people are doing this work, they don't recognize that they got a modicum of knowledge that people are willing to pay for, because that's what the whole entire system is dependent on, like you having a specialization. So they got people who are, when it pertains to real estate, they got people who are developers, people who swing hammers or contractors, other people who put the finance together. And you got to know where your valuation is in the market as fast as you can, and then that is the way you can be an asset to your day job, and they'll let you do something entrepreneurial ASAP, or you can be an asset to yourself and start building out your own organization.
Or ideally both. I am a fan of, picking those skills that, will be transferable and help you in your endeavors in every way. And I think at the crux of it, it takes a couple of components, like really knowing yourself and what you really want, right? And also, being willing to ask for it. You don't know what you can get until you ask. Even with your employers, like, there's like, talent is a resource. You are a resource. And, if you're at a company, an enterprise that really values you, they'll invest in you, and you can ask for investment in the areas that will also help you, if and when you leave that organization. And I always encourage people to think that way, because at the end of the day, employers are their employers. Like, they can choose to have you here one day, choose to not have you the next day. So if you're not always thinking about, like creating your options, then you might be left in the lurch. Whereas you can take advantage of, the things that, like, take advantage of the time that you have, the opportunity you have, but always be thinking about, okay, what can I take to the next thing, and eventually my own thing. And I think that's a big piece of it. Like thinking about, it's the skills that will help you own your own time, own your own wealth, your space. I feel like that ownership piece is really big. And it doesn't happen overnight, but you can build towards that, at a 9 to 5, with that long-term goal in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's an important shift in perception. I met someone a while ago who told me, like, if you have to get a job because you want to support your dreams or your ultimate goals, use the job how they use you, not in a not in a transactional way, but you're going to spend your time there, get as much as you can out of it. They're going to get as much as they can out of you. Exactly. And I love that shift that happened, because usually I was like, oh, I just gotta get a job to pay bills while I'm working on my other thing. But it doesn't have to be like that. And I love the way you guys are explaining it. You're just thinking super long term. And what you said about your mom, I think a lot about, I know a lot of people who are broke, but they are not lazy. And that's like, they just don't, what you said in the beginning, Travis, with like this gotcha in America, they just don't know. They just don't know how to play the game. And I'm one of the people, and I'm starting to see a little bit behind the curtain to try to navigate the world in a different way. But I think it's so important that you said that. And that's why I think that's part of the reason that me and Iman even started this, is like, we want people to think different, and that encourages, and what you all are saying encourages that. Yes, it's a shame when I see people work so hard. They'll have 2 and 3 jobs. They work all the time and they don't have anything, nothing. And when they go, all their money's, there's nothing left. So I think that was an important part. And then we could just spread that as much as possible, to just have that shift about thinking about the way you work.
Yeah. And I'll add a little bit more color to that, because I think it's important. My family had already been through 2 foreclosures. They had attempted to do the whole American dream thing, right? And so if you look at the stats between, wealth for white families and versus Black families, average white household has about 100K worth of net worth, and the average Black family has about 5,000 to 6,000. So they're on average 20 times more wealth than we do, and it's typically via the household, right? Somebody bought a house 60 years ago, paid off the mortgage on a 30-year mortgage, transferred it to a son or a set of children. They divvied it up in either the sale, or they're still keeping it and living rent-free, right? It seems so mundane, but to live rent-free for your entire life, literally, is tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So and then when you get to sell it, it's also like a coupon to you, right? So like, did my family have the wrong idea about how to build wealth in this country? Absolutely not. right? But then there's the gotcha part. You have to do it the right way. So, you know, I literally became obsessed with it. I mean, some of the most stressful moments in my life was being forcibly moved. I became a nomad out of the fact that I was so used to being moved. Right? So instead of it being a negative thing, I turned it into a superpower. But it's like I had to turn the world on its head. I had to do a Copernican turn, and in order to do that, I had to re-educate myself. And so, you know, it was very important for me to understand personal finance, especially after I graduated college. So, you know, when I got my first real estate job, all I had was like some thoughts and my ability to talk. Like I had a dream and I was communicating it to people. And, you know, I was lucky that they were entrepreneurs and they saw something in myself that they think they had and they wanted to give me a shot. But like, you know, a lot of the times people are not um, you know, there's such a huge cultural and social capital piece that's missing in terms of building wealth that quite frankly, in my opinion, I do feel like it's hidden. You know, some of these things should be more broadly known and shared, and we're, we pay taxes for an education system that should apprise people of this stuff, and it doesn't. So like, that's where a lot of the motivation comes from to sort of be an entrepreneur. It's about resiliency and be able to feed back into my family and also Mikey's goals. You know, before we got on this call, I was joking around that I'm gonna get a hand of the Queen pin. You're Game of Thrones fans. It's like,
No, but
oh, if you watch Game of Thrones, you know the reference. There's a person who works
I've heard
in
it.
King, and their whole job is to make the king's desires real. And so they're called the hand, and they wear a pin that's literally a symbol of a hand. And I was like, you know, in my head, that's my role, you know. And it's, you know, Mikey is like the pinnacle of that, but it's not just for her. I got nieces, you know, that, you know, one is less than 1 years old, none of them's 3. I got, you know, sister, 2 sisters, older brother, and if I can show them a sliver of how to do this and then give them an opportunity when they need it, that's what I'm building this for. And, you know, a lot of the times, because our culture becomes so banal as a society, people think that I just want to be like wealthier just for myself. So when they hear me say it, it's like, oh, you just want a Benz or you want to buy those new Jordans and I'm like, do I? Because have you ever seen me wear those things?
I literally was not like laughing because I'm like, that's just not us at all. I'm like, what?
But people think that that's why I'm working. You're like, oh, like, isn't it? Someone asked me like the other day,
Yeah,
like,
why do you work so hard or something?
and I was just like,
What?
I was blown away by the question. I was like, you don't want to keep your people safe? Like, what is driving you?
Have options, you know? Yeah.
I was thinking about Travis, when we were just talking about that exposure and not having access to the resources. So like a few years back, I did like a fellowship in Northern California, and the guy that I was staying with had 2 children, like 10 and 12 years old, that would come over on the weekends. And I remember at a certain time every day, he would sit them down and just talk about, well, investments. He would do almost like a little quiz about, and I was just like, dang, they're learning this. And they knew a lot of the answers at like 10 and 12 years old. I'm sure they already have, because the guy had some money, but I'm like, I'm sure they already have college and a house kind of laid out for them, but it's that knowledge and just passing down. So I love that idea of, you're like, I'm learning all this, I'm doing all this because I didn't have it growing up, and the plan is to pass that along, because I feel like that's where it starts. Like,
Yeah, and we're actively doing it. I have a younger sister who's a freshman at Penn, and you know, she sees what we're doing. I try not to like project too much, you know, like expectations, because I think that's really hard to deal with. But she comes to me naturally to ask questions, and you know, I will share all the books that I've read with her and talk through it with her and answer her questions. Like, you know, she has read The Richest Man in Babylon, one of my one of the books that I recommend to a lot of folks, just to change how you think about money. Rich Dad Poor Dad, and others. Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, which is about decision making. I'm recommending all of these books to her because I think it's important to get that mindset early. I feel like I came to it a little bit late, which is funny because it was like out of college. I wasn't making much money, but I was really, again, curious about how people just really maintain their wealth and grow their wealth. And I just started I got really into the tax system because I was just looking at this and I was like, this is where the winners and losers are decided. And the more I looked into it, the more it was just so clear to me. And I got obsessed. So from then on, it was more like, okay, this is really a game. And and I get excited about these things because one of the most interesting things to me is to be able to use your ingenuity, figure out problems, and really optimize it and hack the shit out of it, and the tax game kind of was represented all of that to me. So there's a lot of that knowledge about how to navigate these really important systems. And I kid you not, I think that's has been one of our biggest wealth generators. Just two things: knowing how to manage the money we have, because I think people underestimate that. Being able to do personal finance and manage the money that you have will get you very far. And also maximizing that with the tools that you have and your knowledge. And
every year that you maximize it, it adds back into itself. So
immediately, it also compounds over time. If you think about the time value of money.
Yeah, and so, but simultaneously, every year you don't do it is the year that it stagnates. So it's like you're actually losing out every single time, because if you don't get to that other pinnacle, you can't take advantage of the next.
Yeah, exactly. And it just started very early on, not making a lot of money, but figuring out how to make what I had work, and then just continuing to learn, and also think about how I could share with, again, our family members, which is really big, because this is how, this is what wealthy people do. And it's such a normal thing to share their knowledge about how to build wealth. They'll set their kids up, their grandchildren up, their family members up for life in these ways, and yeah, it's important to learn how that all works, and start to really implement it for ourselves. As soon as we learned, it was you learn this thing. Oh, I just read this new tax code thing. How can we do this? It was really like that.
When you say, go ahead, Travis. I'm sorry.
Well, the other sort of context I'd like to add, we are also very intellectually curious people. And I know, at least for me, I have a very strong value against when outsiders try to tell me how I should construct my world.
Or what's possible, what's not.
Yeah. And I'll just say a couple things. I had some very personal experiences. When I was in 3rd grade, I had a teacher, or was it 5th grade? Whatever. Her name is Mrs. Green. You can totally put this in the podcast.
Miss Green.
She told me as a 5th grader or 3rd grader, I can't remember the exact year, I wasn't going to be anything, that my future was already sunk. That's what she told me. And they had to come get me that day because I refused to accept it. And I haven't really changed as a person since that point in time, because fundamentally people, they try to, systems, they try to do that all the time, create a structure for you to follow and say that these are the rules that you have to follow.
Yeah.
And if you try to think outside the box, we're going to make sure you get back into these lines. And as a Black man in this society, that just doesn't really work, right? And I can't say that I came to that value totally by myself, but I will say that, I'm trying to honor everybody who got me there. My dad, when I was 9 years old, he had me reading The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Wilson. Shouldn't be messing up the name. Because that book really, it definitely unlocked me, because there's so many layers of social control in general, and money is just one of them. And so what we try to do is position ourselves to, combat that and take in good information and make the right choices for ourselves, our community, and our society as a whole. Because, at the end of the day, there's people who benefit from the status quo, and institutions that benefit from the status quo. And personally, the way I like to try to live my life is to sort of be antithetical to those organizations and how they're structured to benefit. I think when we think about building wealth, that's what it's really about. It's about definitely taking care of our family. And it's about being able to construct the world as I see it, generations of white men have been accorded that privilege from birth, mind you. They didn't have to do a damn thing to fight for it. But it's my world too. Every space in this planet is for me too, and I'm gonna go for it. And that's how I think about it.
Yeah. It sounds like you both came into the relationship as visionaries already, and kind of an idea of this is where I'm going, and then you got together and it just became that much stronger. Was there anything that challenges along the way where you're just oh, this isn't going the direction that we thought? And how did you, because I know it's hard sometimes, especially when you have someone else to consider, how did you guys kind of push past that?
You want to go? You got I get the last one.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, there are definitely challenges. I'm trying to think.
We're both kind of type A, right? So there's the reconciling our thoughts about things. So I feel like we've learned to slow down and take time to understand where both persons are coming from. And we also learned that it's very good for both of us to have diversity in opinion. So just because I believe one thing and she believes another, we don't necessarily have to do anything about it. We can actually let both theories exist and act on them and see which one yields the best results. And it ends up being kind of fun too. So less interpersonal exchanges that are negative, and more okay, well, I think this, you think that, let's try it.
Yeah. And I mean, so one of the big things actually was when earlier on, when I really, as I mentioned earlier, wanted to live abroad, build a career abroad. And I was the jobs and opportunities that I take are definitely going in that direction. And I think at the time, it's not that you weren't open to it. It was just more it wasn't in your real plans. And I think there was that family element too, that was just can we reconcile these two visions? Because I was very strong in the terms of this is what I've been thinking about the last 3 years, and it's going to be in my life plan some way and somehow.
I'm super family oriented, and at the time I was well, if I can't live a stone's throw from my family, what's the point of all this stuff?
Yeah. And it was I remember we were in Philly at that restaurant, and we were both crying because I was I can't give this up. And you're it was just what are we gonna do? And I mean, I think so for me, I'm honestly not the best communicator when it comes to, I like to kind of get to the solution very quickly. And I'm not great at kind of stepping back always and letting talking it through, So to me, there was the solution is that we have to end this. We're in two different directions. I'm not going to tell you that you have to, I'm not going to take you from your journey, if that's important to you, because I believe in my journey as well. And to me, I had already just it was just, the solution is we have to go our own ways, because that would be best for us as individuals, and it just means that it's not a great time for us. But it took some growth to be able to step back and like talk that through. And I think it was really from like Travis, who is really a good communicator, who is really patient and is like, okay, well, let's talk through these different elements. Like, let's sit with it. Let's, really just kind of live in that emotion and continue communicating and see if we can get to something, that we both would allow us both to thrive in our journeys.
Yeah, and I think just to like add to it too is like, I think what we realized over time is that when you are the type of person who will passionately pursue your goals, right? You can't just generally have the goals out there and be like, okay, now that this other person's here, they're still general, they're not put in any order or sequence, you haven't organized it.
Yeah.
And because it's fine to do that way on your own, because depending on your situation, you can be like, all right, I'm gonna sell stuff in my apartment, I'm out. And if I go move abroad if I want to. But when you have to consider someone else, and it's not just on the topic of moving abroad, it's like, I mean, my sleep pattern has changed now. like when you have to consider someone else, there's so much that has to go into making sure they are both successful. It's going to take quite a bit of communication to be on that same page. So we just were like, oh, I think we're thinking about this in a weird way. Like, why are we acting like this decision is going to be made tomorrow? Like, let's take time to organize it and figure out what makes sense and where can we both be flexible on. And what also, this is another thing that also is always happening. Personal growth is always happening. So it's not going to be like this priorities. This static thing that you figure it out, and it's in that snapshot. It is what it is. Like at one point we thought, okay, we're going to build our company first, then try and move abroad. And then when we realized, like, okay, we just need to take in more information and go through these cycles where we are truthing what we want to happen against the facts of how to make it happen. And that will inform the decision most of the time anyways. And also as we grow, we'll be able to figure out like what really is a deal breaker and what's not. And, allow each other the personal freedom to explore that thing even within the context of our relationship, instead of being like, okay, that other person has to be totally like in this concept, and for me, I was like, I'm so against creating prisons, whether mentally constructed or physically constructed, that how could I sit here and be like, well, this is the final constraint? That's not even me. Like, I tend to always try to find a creative solution anyways.
Yeah.
And I think it helped that we started to do like we were doing regular budget meetings.
Yeah, we just started.
And like we do our like strategic planning, personal and business every year for sure, and we've increased it to quarterly recently.
Yeah, those are the big meetings, but we meet once a week.
Oh yeah, we have like so again, going back to bringing what you learn from your job to your endeavors, I do Agile, which is basically like a project management approach for software development. And we implement that in our like regular business as well. So like, we do a weekly Scrum. We've adapted it for our purposes, but we've taken that like framework and, brought it into our business to make us work better. But yeah, like that came from my job. So going back to that theme, like use what you got, you can learn and apply in different ways. But so we do like that regular check-in on what we want, if we're, good, if we're on the right track, what are our plans, like where are we in our trajectory and our journey, and then we bring it together and like, identify the steps to bring it all into fruition. So
people who are willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do that in some of my relationships, but the other person wasn't willing to do it with me. So I can't communicate if you won't do it. It's like, if you won't have this exchange with me,
Right.
I mean, I was down for these meetings. I was ready, and they were not showing up to the meeting. So, for you guys to do that consistently is like, I don't think that should go like just that happens often. Like that's just take that for granted sort of thing.
Yeah. I feel like it's so, like, going off of what Selena said, and I feel like, and maybe that's just my experience, I know Selena's had a similar, it's so rare to find someone that is driven and motivated where they're like, this is where I'm going, but also flexible. Because I've run into a lot of people that are ambitious and they have their goals, but then if your goals don't align with them, they're like, nope. So it's like, it's so nice that you guys are able to say like, hey, this is my vision, this is mine. Like, how can we find some middle ground? Because I don't think that's, it's really rare to find
That's
that.
what Maiki said too. She was ready to, she was like, all right, well, it's not gonna work. And that's what I would have said. So it's amazing. What were you gonna say, Travis?
Well, to be honest, I think we both care about each other more than we care about our goals. And if you fundamentally care about the other person, you want to see them happy. And as humans, you have to be progressing towards your goal. Like, if you feel totally stagnant, you're not going to feel happy. And so, if we're together and we're truly concerned with each other's happiness, then we gotta figure it out. Like, it's that if that's the way you construct it and you think about it that way, it's almost like an obstacle not to figure it out. And why would you end such a beautiful thing of being together in a relationship that we're building together if you're not trying to figure it out in the first place? Like, that's what you're signing up to do.
And I thought, from my perspective, I thought the thing that would make him happy, which was very important for me, was to be able to, be around his family. And I was just like, I don't want to take you from that. Sometimes, like, it's like you're not right for the person. Like, they actually, for them to be happy, for them to have the best, you might not be right. And that's what I started to think, before we got into the deeper conversation and like really kind of spent time sitting with it and thinking it through together, but yeah, just to like, it wasn't like, I wanted to do my own thing. I did, but it was also like, I don't think that, the journey that I want to be on would also bring him closer to his vision of happiness, which was important to me.
Yeah, and we just ended up reconciling that. I mean, I think my concept of interacting with my family, I was making an assumption that just because I was geographically close to them, that I would see them all the time. And that's just like not how life works, right? Like, people is busy as hell.
Yeah.
So then I was like, it occurred to me, hey, I'm probably gonna see my family like 6 to 12 times a year. So that's either every month or every month. How do I make something like that happen even if we're not geographically close to each other? And when I was able to construct it differently, then I was able to like let it go and create a new construct that was more conducive to the lifestyle we wanted to build.
Yeah, and actually, and when I think about it, we're really problem solvers at heart, and this was just another. It was an excuse. Like, a lot of things, excuses could be made for not doing this or not doing that, but it's really like, okay, this is an obstacle. How do you solve it? It's more about, okay, like, how do we figure this out? And once I tapped into that, like, that way of thinking, which is what I do in all the other areas of my life, it just made sense. Like, oh, this isn't this is just another obstacle to overcome. It doesn't have to be the end all be all.
Yeah. As for like work and in life, do you think having each other makes you more motivated? Like, do you think you would be as far in your careers as you are now if you were single?
Absolutely not. First of all, she got me this job that I have right now. So that's a no. I joke around at my job. It's like, yo, you guys got to put Maiki on retainer because I ask her all these questions about how we do stuff at work. So, I mean, to be honest, like, I know it sounds a bit cliche, but I really found someone who helps me be my better self. In terms of even my motivation for like pushing through and trying to, you know, be on this planet for a good number of years. I say it like that because I'm a type 1 diabetic and every day is a struggle. And I met a number of diabetics that are just like, all right, I got 20 years. I'm gonna treat it like that. I'm not gonna do all the care that it goes into taking care of myself. It's just too much work. And I could relate with them. I have had some very difficult days in my life trying to manage my diabetes, but you know, I always have Maiki supporting me. It keeps me positive. And in practice too, like she's also helping me do it. Like I don't eat as much junk food anymore. And she does it in very like subtle ways where it's like, let's do this substitution and that substitution. Before I know it, I'm not like eating all the crap that I was eating before. And so, you know, and it helps too, because, you know, I had this like really rigorous gym schedule and it was really lonely, to be honest. I was doing it by myself and I didn't have a lot of friends going with me, but you know, Maiki goes every day with me now, so I don't ever go by myself. And you know, I wouldn't be able to tap into that extra effort. I used to work hard as a younger person because of the motivation to help my family. But at the same time, you know, I realized my family doesn't necessarily need help. What they need is like the same opportunities I got to open my experience and learn something different. So as my relationship changed with them, where it wasn't like a thing where I was just trying to sort of help out with economic things, but more like, you know, being more like a role model, I was realizing like, you know, my motivation to stay like 10 toes down and really put my head to the grindstone, it was kind of dissipating. But you know, I've built a new mission, and it's to be the hand of the queen. So, and honestly, I mean, maybe it's you know, sort of self-serving to the way, you know, I've constructed my personality, but it definitely helps me stay on the horse, no matter how bumpy the ride gets. So I would say that, you know, to be honest, like I couldn't even imagine what my life would be like without having met this wonderful woman that I am so blessed to call my wife.
Yeah.
Oh,
Short answer is no. I'll just leave it at that.
oh, I love it. I can feel the love coming through the screen. So I do want to be, are you guys okay to go a bit? I know we only said an hour. Are you guys okay to go a bit longer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were doing intros and started kind of late. We're good.
Okay. Just want to be respectful of your time.
As far as, there were so many things like throughout this, but just real quick, Travis, I wanted to tell you, I think I have that nomad spirit too, because I moved a lot. I went to 7 different elementary schools, just to give you an idea of how much I moved. So I think I really resonate with that. That's just a side note. That was like,
a military kid?
What'd you say?
Are you a military kid? Like,
no, we just were broke and like
moving around. Okay.
just not stable. But that definitely, like, I can't stay one place too long. I think I like to see things and explore, but I'm pretty sure that foundation was laid because of that. And it had its good parts. I didn't know we were broke. I didn't know that.
It's true. That's true though. I mean, I feel like I eventually divined it, like looking back, but I had a great time.
Right. I was like, I get to get people and I'm moving. I'm always new. So it's like everybody want to meet me. Hey. So I wasn't. But I did want to ask about, so when you guys say real estate, exactly what is it? Like what part of it? Well, right?
So included but not limited to real estate, investment, development, property management, and consulting.
Consulting,
services.
coaching.
Oh,
yeah.
and sales.
I'm a realtor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you're a realtor too?
Yes.
Not two as in me. I mean, in addition to all the other things you do.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, in DC, Maryland, and PA.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. I'm in Maryland.
Oh, okay.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
So right now, our goal is to kind of build out our portfolio and kind of build like a self-sustaining business. So we got a couple of units right now, nothing major, just 2 properties, 3 units in total, and we're just, steadily acquiring over time. And that's like on the actual assets that we own. But again, Maiki is a salesperson, so she's doing first-time home buyer consultations and like, sharing basically everything that we've learned in our journey with people. A lot of the folks that come to us, well, they don't have folks in their family that have bought homes before or know how to convey to them how they even bought the home and all that good stuff. And so we offer that service. And then there's another element where we are sort of setting up investment for other like accredited investors to participate in and folks that personally know us, so that if they have the chance or opportunity to become diversified in their real estate investments, they can do that with us too. So I think that's pretty much all the services. Oh, and obviously like real estate investment consulting. So some folks like need help thinking about, okay, based off my profile, what type of investment should I select?
Yeah, how to structure the finances, build the pro forma, and Travis did his finishing his master's in real estate as well. So yeah, there's both like, kind of been hands-on doing the real estate and then also kind of continuing to learn about it, professionalizing it, me through the realtor licensing and that work, and Travis in his job, and also
I forgot about that.
In your master's program.
So at my job, I'm the director of strategy and analytics at an affordable housing company. And so basically what I do is I'm responsible for identifying like the leading and lagging key performance indicators that help us improve any of the operations on our actual properties, or if we're, anything in the back office that might be affecting how efficient we are. So that's part of my job too. And then also creating processes around acquiring, developing, and leasing properties and disposing of them too. So actually, it's my job to help to make sure all the processes that need to be written and documented are, and that they're audited over time to make sure that they're performing. And so, like obviously that feeds back into the professional consulting that we're doing, because, if I'm able to do it at this level for an organization that has a revenue of like $7 million, I'm pretty sure I could help smaller entrepreneurs get started and how they're thinking about it.
Yeah, because you have the exposure to like the larger kind of development, real estate investment. Yeah,
it's like both, right? Like we've done it from the ground up, and then also I see what a more mature company looks like. And not to add another thing, but also I'm getting my certificate in accounting at University of Maryland. So I can basically help people think through the financial bit, and if they need to make a decision based off of how they should move that in a way that impacts their balance sheet and their future opportunities to invest. So it is a lot that we're doing.
Full plates. Do you guys ever have fun? Just a quick question.
Before we get unscripted, we have a lot of fun. Yes.
Yeah, we have tons of fun. First of all, I would like to say we think this real estate stuff is super fun.
Yeah, we also like nerding out about this stuff. Yeah, like I think the business stuff is really fun. It's like, getting to do the creative side, try new things, keep learning. So that is fun.
You ever walk into a place that you actually built?
Yeah.
And then someone else lives there? that shit is
Yeah,
that's a
cool.
different feeling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that part about it. So there's that like general lifestyle happiness, but then on a day to day, we actually, we do have moments where we have peak work,
Yeah.
but then we also have a lot of downtime too. Like, somehow we've
Fair.
I don't agree. Look.
Fair.
We're actually
Like 15 minutes in the morning.
Right now.
pretty ruthless about our time management, and that's kind of how.
That's what it is. Yeah, we are. And so
Even with each other, it's like you're a minute over.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Definitely good at time management. And then, we like a lot of experiential things. So we travel, we do like salsa dancing together, we work out together. We're on this crazy lifting program right now.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. But we, what else we've done? I feel like we picked up a couple. Oh, I was doing Krav Maga, martial arts.
So this whole time, right? We're getting our second asset. She just started her job with Deloitte, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna go get my certificate in first year Krav Maga. I'm like, where are you gonna find the time to do this shit? And she actually busted it out. She like did this like 7-day, like 8-hour training where all they did was like basically like beat her up and then she attacked people back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we have fun hobbies. We do.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. I'm a glutton for punishment.
You'd be surprised how much time is in the day.
Yeah.
If you just put it towards things that aren't like, for instance, I'm a habitual Instagram scroller, right? And I was like, what if I just take that time and like just do emails instead, right? My entire inbox, first of all, this thing that I didn't think was possible, my inbox was handled. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it didn't take any more time out of my day. I just decided to only to stop using Instagram in a certain way. And all of a sudden my email was handled.
No, what's really important about that is I had gotten sidetracked, but I went back to my goal list. And Iman, I told her about this. When I write my goals out, I write like the times, like I'm talking about even stuff like doing my face mask, like every little thing. And when I did that, I was like, damn, you can get a lot done when you're not just BSing throughout the day. And I even schedule play-in. So I'm like, from 5 to 6, I'm going to play. And play for me could be Instagram or read my book, a fun book, anything. But I can do anything I want in that allotted time. Even before I met y'all, I had 3 hours to cook, run errands, work out, and get dressed. And I did all that. But if I didn't have to meet you guys, I would have BS that. And that would have taken like the rest of my day. Like I'd still been out running errands. And so I think that's important for listeners too. Like if you really sit down and strategically plan your time out, you can get so much done. And thank y'all for that reminder. I'm gonna look up a certificate because it's like, and it helps your self-esteem. I think it helps your self-esteem. Like you feel like you get that sense of accomplishment.
Right. Yeah. I have a weekly planner I live by, and I do the digital thing.
You don't have one. She's got 3 planners over there.
I've been doing it for a while, but it really like time blocking is a big thing, and
It's a big thing. This is the smallest one. This is the smallest one. There are 3 more.
Yeah, like every hour, and then we have our shared calendars. We meet every week to make sure that we're on track. And honestly, it might sound stressful to some people, but when you understand the time that you have and where it's going, it's just actually you free up a lot of space. You're not thinking about, oh wait, what did I need to do in this half hour, hour like this weekend? It's pretty much all there. So yeah.
And then we do actually have tons of fun.
We go out not so the thing is we don't go out all the time. I'm not a big I need to go to a bar every night or anything like that, but every month we'll go out to go to a club.
Well, in the last 5 years we went to London, Paris, France, where else did we go? Iceland on that trip.
Yeah, Cancun.
Then we went to Puerto Rico twice. We're actually low-key moving to Puerto Rico in a month, but we talk about it later.
I was just gonna try to hang with y'all since y'all local. Now you leaving. All right.
No, we're gonna spend time in both. So we're gonna be in the States a couple months, and then Puerto Rico. You know, it's like our it's our global plan. Just like 5 years, 7 years earlier than we thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still gonna be in the States. So
yeah,
definitely will link up.
Yeah. But where else did we go? We also went to Mexico. We went to LA in November. We had one of our good friends lived in New York for a little bit, and we went to New York like
you were seeing him like, all the time.
Yeah, because he is a real interesting dude too. But he got really busy. But when he wasn't, we saw him like every week or something like that, and we just would roll through. And this type of dude who he had a real nice place, like crazy downtown Manhattan apartment with a roof deck, the only roof deck in the building that was on the 36th floor, and it overlooked the entire city. And he would just be like, all right, let's have 40 people over. And so I got my first tattoo because of this man. And so basically what happened was I was like, oh, dude, I'm about to find a tattoo artist when we go to LA. And he was like, what you mean you gonna find a tattoo artist when we get one tonight? And he Instagrammed all the tattoo artists he could find, and he got one of them to show up to his apartment while he had this party planned. And I got to line up and be the first person to get a tattoo. And afterwards, 20 other people got a tattoo at his party. And that was just because so we think about things in vision and then do it. Oh,
yeah,
he's on a whole. He's my best friend, but he's also like low key like one of my role models, because anytime he has a thought, it's in seconds. Like he's already working on trying to make it happen, and it could be for pleasure, it could be for work. That's just how he is. And honestly, I try. So if that dude calls me, I can go anywhere that he wants to go.
It's true.
It's like
exactly that.
We going to Timbuktu? All right, bet when.
We have a special fund dedicated to a good time.
Yes,
for this guy.
a budget line item for this fund.
Yeah. So we have a good time.
Yeah.
That's good that you find that balance. Because when you guys are talking about everything, I'm just like, ooh, like when do you? But that's so right. And I feel like for me, time management, Selena knows, is not my strength. So when I was trying to like schedule everything out, I was feeling too constrained, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this. But I think having a different perspective where I'm like, okay, I'm doing this so that I can get to where I'm trying to go, helps me be a little bit more motivated to stick to it. So yeah, you guys have inspired me with all these trips. I'm like, all right, come on.
If you need a planner recommendations, I got you.
Okay.
And to be honest, you can grow in this capacity too. Like Maiki knows when she met me, I wasn't a great time manager, and I still am working on it. But world's way different, because I just started asking her, okay, what do you do in this scenario to manage your time? She's like, okay, I do this. And it was very helpful to get those pointers from her, because I noticed that as soon as I started interacting with my schedule the same way that she did, I was able to do things a little bit more efficiently, and it gave me that much more time to do things. So it does feel like somehow the plate is getting bigger instead of it overflowing. It's almost like, I don't know, I just figured out how to do all this stuff now.
Yeah.
I like that visual, like the plates get bigger versus it overflowing. I like that.
He's so good at analogies and stuff like that. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's like, you also had to make some choices about it too. Like, eventually we'll get an assistant, like, because if you're trying to grow a business and then still have a day job and like still wanting to be in both, for both of us, is tough, but I don't think I would have it any other way.
Yeah. And I think about the long term too. I always say this, like, we got like, I want to go as hard as possible for 10 years. Like, that's what I'm committing to, 10 years. And afterwards, it's just going to be, really optional. Like, and that amount of energy. It's not going to be the same, but I'm committing to like maximizing this energy, the spirit, and all the things that we have, this momentum for 10 years. And then and giving myself that kind of like time period also helps, because I really believe things are cyclical. You're not always on the same, you don't always have the same energy. You don't always have the same priorities. So it's about like kind of matching your normal cycle to, your goals too. And if I can know that like, I'm going hard for the next 3 months and then taking a break and then, getting back into it, and I'm in this for 10 years, it helps me really just like keep those goals in mind, and keep that bigger picture in mind. Like this is only kind of temporary. 10 years may sound like a long time, but it's really not.
Right.
Also, another thing you made me realize is part of the reason why we have this much time is because we're not having kids, and we made that decision.
I was thinking about that.
Everybody else gets to this point in their life and they're like, all right, let's pump out some babies. And then it's like, okay, when you decide to make that decision, that's great for you, but it does come with the fact that every waking hour outside of work is going to be about them. Yeah. So my question, I would like turn it back and be like, okay, do you know any like mid-career professionals in their 30-somethings with children that are also have time for themselves? And the answer is
they do. People make time. I mean, people make it work. But I'm not saying
which friends you've been watching? Our friends with kids do not have time. Okay. They disappear. They don't even go to the sometimes fun stuff.
Yeah.
They are not around.
It's a different. So I would say they would say they have a different kind of time. You know what I mean?
And they would say that they have a different kind of fun.
Yeah. So it's just different.
I'm not getting tattoos on rooftops in Manhattan.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like picking up and moving to Puerto Rico. Yeah. That's
right.
Happening for everyone. But yeah, no, I think people make, like, if you really want something, no matter what, you'll make it work. If you want to have kids and like, build a business and move, you'll figure it out. And people do it. It's just like, it's not in our plans. Like, we have, I had a lot of really great mentors, over the course of my life career, and I'm excited to be a mentor for a very long time. I'm already doing that for my sister and her friends, and like that's my form of parenting, I guess, and that's how that manifests. And for thinking about ways that are unconventional, I don't feel compelled at all to have kids of my own. Yeah. I love our lifestyle.
Everybody tries to peer pressure us though.
I know how it is. Iman, you should know too. I never heard you say it, but people will try to convince me, like, you'll be a good mom. Shut up. I don't want that job though.
Right. Exactly. I didn't ask for all that.
I don't think I'd be good at something I would like hate.
Yeah, people used to tell me I'd be a good lawyer, and then I was like, I don't want to do that shit.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm pretty sure about this no kids thing.
Oh, no. I knew I wasn't having kids when I was 29.
Probably
knew my whole life. Well, we don't have a lot. I have a lot more questions, but not for today, because I will keep y'all here for hours. But I always say this. I want you, but I'm serious. I would love for y'all to come back on the show, right? Yes. And but Iman, did you have any other questions?
I did just want to ask the friendship thing, because you kind of mentioned one of your best friends, but I guess for both of you, what like qualities and traits do your friends have to have, or like your inner circle to kind of, because it sounds like they're both very motivated. So I'm wondering, like, who are your people?
I love that question. Yeah, my people really, like, they are, very open-minded, and very curious as well. I think, the people that I get along the most, that my true friends, like long-term friends, are very also accepting. I think that goes along with being open-minded and curious. You just, like, when you engage something new, your reaction is not like, no, what is this? Like, no way. It's like, oh, how does this work? It's like more inquisitive. And I would say too, like, I think values oriented. Yeah, values are really big. And I think that really determines who you spend time with. Like, you know, being someone who's very interested in like having new experiences, trying new things, like really experiencing life in, you know, in the way that I want to, and kind of driving towards success in the way I define. I feel like I naturally kind of gravitate towards people who have that kind of the same mentality. And you know, they value having more time. You know, they value you know, having like global experiences. They value learning more about different cultures, and you know, they value learning. Um, yeah, I think those would be like the core elements of, you know, the friendships that I treasure most.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, I never thought about this before, but we act all of our friends, like I get along with all of your friends and you get along with all of mine. And part of that is because I think I have some of the same criteria. Like all my friends are just like super out of the box in terms of like how they think about things. I'm thinking about Ramin.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guy will challenge any construct, give it to him, and he'll think it all the way through.
And it's cool because you find different ways of being, existing, and doing things when you are that way.
Yeah.
And I that's what I love the most about my friends. Like, yeah, I think about my friend Courtney, who's like, we've just had so many great conversations, experiences, and it's always because we just engage life with this like, okay, what is this? What's this new thing? Like, are we thinking about this in a really conventional way? How can we look at this differently? How can we approach this differently? And it's awesome.
I think a lot of my friends too are very empathic. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
where it's like
empaths.
They're thinking about their emotions throughout the entire journey of life and
the friendship.
Yeah, and then they're also trying to do their best to like be thoughtful people and additive. You know, they're not. I've never had a friend like, you know, I see memes online about people who are haters. I don't really know that many because my friends, I've never had an experience of a friend like really tearing me down in any form or fashion. They're always like bigging me up and they always got my back. They like really got my back. Like I know Bert would take a bullet for me and I would take a bullet for him. Like, you know, my friend Ramin, Kwame, like Olu, I just keep going. Like these are all people with really big hearts. And, you know, they are like my family members. I already know like if I got an issue or they got an issue, like I'm showing up for them, you know? And that tends to be kind of the common thread between all of them. Big hearts and open-minded.
Yeah, and like also, I'm like keep going on, but like also communication. I think in any relationship, including friendships, like setting expectations about like how you do friendship and like what kind of friend you are. You know, I've had to do that recently, and it makes a real difference. Like I think that's a defining line. Like, yeah, I'm the kind of friend who will do X, X, and X, and I feel like with my really close friends, I can do that. I can say like, here's how I perform friendship and how I receive friendship. And it's always that, like, again, like that communication and making sure that we have the right expectations of each other, you know, and to keep that like friendship, that bond going strong. Even as we change and grow, we're always kind of communicating about that.
Yeah. And this is just like, it's all really positive usually. Like, and it's not to say that that's
like the requirement.
Yeah, or that it's even contrived. It's like we all take the time to really articulate and understand where each other is coming from. And so that way it's never felt like it's a slight or anything like that. And we're always like supporting each other. Like our friends cheered us on, you know, last time we all hung out in LA. It was like, yo, you guys can do this thing. We didn't even think about it like that. And all of a sudden we had to, you know, contend with the fact that they believed in us so much in a way that we didn't even believe in ourselves. To the point where they felt it was like almost a bit of an argument. They were like, yo, you got to show up like this, right? But it wasn't negative though. It was like, you have
They want the best.
Yeah, they want the best for us.
Yeah.
And it's constructive criticism even. Even though I didn't even think they would use the word criticism, because it was all like love. It was just like, they took the time to even, say it, even if we weren't ready to listen to it, which was, to me, that's love. You got a lot of people who they associate with you and they're not necessarily trying to get too deep with you. They're just trying to have a great time and keep it at that. But if you got your friends who will be like, let's talk about a hard subject, and it's all love.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I love it.
Me too. I had and then this is my last question, but what piece of advice would y'all give each person? Like, if you could only give one piece of advice, and I know, Maiki, you said you mentor. So if you were like, you could only tell them one thing, you're never going to see them again.
Are you still thinking about it?
I'm still thinking. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think my piece of advice is, whatever you do, you got to hold it down, right? If you enter a relationship, own that shit. Don't run away from any responsibilities or obligations associated with that, even if you got to look in the man in the mirror. And that relationship could be a romantic one, it could be a business one, but people rely on you, right? Like, if I have tenants, they're relying on me to create a safe space, right? Like, if it's not safe, that's not good. I'm not going to run from that, right? So that's where they lay their heads at night. So I got to make sure everything I'm doing is showing up for them. So to me, it's like, that's the piece of advice I would give. Like, if you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk, and everything that comes with it.
So I would say start with why in everything. And, there's this book that kind of outlines it. It's by Simon Sinek or Sinek. And it's about, kind of getting at the root of why you do things. And I think it just applies to every area. I think about like our journey and, like my journey in personal finance and real estate and my job and things like that. It really starts with asking, why is this the way it is? Like, why do these people have wealth and these people don't? Why do I have to do this work in the way that it's been outlined? Why can't I, structure my time in this way? Or why can't I take on this new role? Why can't I do this work? Why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Why is it important to be an entrepreneur? Why is it important to me to be in real estate and do what I'm doing? I think really just probing and asking that question, in every facet of life could really, help both, narrow things down and find that really like that true meaning for yourself and the true reasons that you're doing things. And it'll just be really enlightening once you start asking that question. So I think that's, if I were just had to sum it up, that's what I would say. Yeah.
What was the name of the book? You said it was by Simon.
I think Sinek. Start with why.
Start with why.
Yeah.
I love it.
I had on my list to ask y'all about books, but you mentioned a lot.
Yeah. They're on our website too. I'm almost positive that one, I put that on there because it's like definitely one of my top books.
Oh, you have a website?
Yeah. It's liveaxios.com. So LIVE Axios, AXIOS.com. And if you go to tools of the trade, there are a list of our like highly recommended books about business, real estate, decision making. And I'm proud to say there are a couple of, I think I have half women and definitely a handful of women of color authors as well. Okay. Call me out if if I don't do it. But yeah, I think it's a good list. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited to look at that. Iman knows I always ask about books like every episode.
I love it.
Anything else, anybody?
I don't think so. I think
And to answer your question, yes, we'd love to come back.
Yes, you have to, because I know we're ending. I know it seems abrupt, but I just want to be mindful of everyone's time. But I have so many questions.
Me too.
Right. So that's the only reason I'm like trying to push the end, because I don't want to like be here for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's a good time to wrap up. But yeah, we'll have to come back and chat with you ladies. It's really fun. And I would love to also hear more about you guys too, what you're doing. So we'll leave more time for it next time.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm gonna send you an email about scheduling it, because we always say that and then we never schedule it with the guest again. Well, I feel good. Do you guys? How y'all feel?
This
good.
is great.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation. Really good.
This is the first time anyone asked us about this directly.
Yeah.
Usually what happens is people say, y'all look so happy. Why y'all so happy?
that was literally Tian.
No, well, I need to know why. It's so important when you meet a couple to ask, all right, we know you're happy, fine. Now how did you get there? That's what we need to focus on.
Asking the why questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real.
That's literally the when we met Tian, that's literally what happened. Because he was like,
y'all so damn happy.
It was a group of them and his friends, because I got invited by a coworker, and Tian is opening this restaurant. And so they did like a soft, it wouldn't even like say a soft opening, it was like a private opening. And it was just him and his friends just kicking it back, and their whole group. And they're playing this real spicy game. What was it called?
It was like God, I'm blanking on the name, but it was like it's like love or no.
They ask you questions about like your relationships or whatever. And over time, people were surprised at our answers, particularly since we were so young. And then they just started probing us. And then by the end of the night, I remember Tian being like, why y'all so fucking happy for?
And so different.
It was
we had some wild answers.
It was really funny. So that's why when he told us about this podcast, I was like, this is hilarious. Did he make this up?
Love it.
He clearly made this up to prank us.
We gotta leave in a minute. So
all right, we're gonna close. We're gonna close. We just do a little outro.
Okay.
So we'll do that now. Thank you again for sharing your time with us and inspiring our listeners to redefine success for themselves.
And of course, thank you, listeners. We couldn't do this without you. Remember to hit like, comment, and share this episode. Please leave a review. We always want to hear your feedback.
And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. And we ask our guests to say our tagline. It's a little long and y'all have to say it together, but we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Okay. We'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Oh, okay. We've been thinking everything. Y'all are really on a vibe.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.